candidates will have 3 minutes to expand upon their political platform. The format of the presentation is at the discretion of the candidates. The timer will give a 1 minute, a 30-second warning, and then not necessarily ring a bell, but hold up a flag when their allotted time is completed. No candidate will be allowed more than their allotted time. We also have a question period. The questions were received from the floor in written form. Ushers provided all the written questions to the moderator to be addressed by the candidates. The moderator will rule out of order any questions deemed inappropriate, offensive, or derogatory. And I'm the moderator. It's going to take a lot for that to happen with me. Okay. That would seem to attack the integrity of the candidate. Okay. So, thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We're excited to have you here. We're excited to have Brad as the moderator. I also want to point out some key volunteers that you should look for this evening. My name is Rachel Morris, and I'm the Executive Director of the Rolesville Chamber of Commerce. So this evening, assisting us, if you need to fill out a question on your card and hand it off, we have over here Winston can collect a card for you, and also Stefan is over there. He could collect a card for you. These are all of our Youth Leadership Rolesville students. They are all high school students. We also have up here on our technical team over there in the corner, we have Hayden, who is an intern for the Rolesville Chamber of Commerce from Franklin Academy. And we also have Ashley, who is our timer. She is a student at Rolesville High School and a graduate of Youth Leadership Rolesville. You hear me keep saying Youth Leadership Rolesville. That's very important because we believe in building our future leaders in Rolesville. And it's also great because I see graduates of the program here. In the back at the door, we have Darlene Zaccarello. She is one of our ambassadors. And we also have Tony Zaccarello, who is an ambassador's husband. So we're grateful for him. Also from Eastwick TV and also from the town of Rolesville, our PIO, we have Amber over there who will be manning the camera. So if you need any assistance this evening, you can always just signal to one of them and we'll be able to assist you as much as possible. But we thank you so much for joining us this evening. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about our actual moderator for this evening. For those who are in Rolesville or who are in Wake Forest, you may have met him or heard of him, but his name is Brad Walker. Brad is a multi-company founder and growth-focused serial entrepreneur across many different industries that last over 20 years. Now, I'm not going to read all of what's on the paper. I'm going to tell you who he is because we know him. Brad is also the person who brought Launch Rolesville to Rolesville. He also helped bring Launch Wake Forest to Wake Forest. Brad actually has been very instrumental in growing not only some of the businesses here in Rolesville, but he's also been very helpful in growing a lot of our entrepreneurs, finding resources for them and assisting them. So he has been a great person for us to work with, and we're glad to have him here with us this evening. He's a Wake Forest resident, so he's not voting in Rolesville, so I thought that would be great for the evening. But we're going to go ahead and get started because I know my candidates are ready, and we're excited to have them this evening, so I'll now turn it back over to Brad.
All right. We're going to start with opening statements tonight, and we'll start with the mayoral candidates, and we'll go by last name alphabetical. Mr. James, would you like to start? You got 3 minutes as an opening statement.
Good evening. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. Thank you to the Rolesville Chamber of Commerce and your volunteers, and thank you all for coming out to spend time with us. My name is James Bradford. I'm a transplant from Maryland. I've been here since 2015. My background, started out in the military. I was an Air Force veteran now. I was in technology. I was also in cryptography. After leaving the military, I started a career as a software developer and a contractor to federal government agencies in metropolitan Washington, D.C. I've worked at pretty much every government agency in Washington, D.C., developing software applications by using a strategic approach to how we got things done. One of my biggest accomplishments was in creating applications that from as far back as 1980, that some of those applications are still being used today. That was because of the approach that we used to develop these applications. Since moving here to Rolesville in 2015, I have been very busy in many different volunteer activities. I'm retired now, thank goodness for that. But some of the activities that I'm involved in, I started out doing some volunteer work for the Economic Development Committee here in Rolesville. I have participated in some of the parades. I'm also a motorcyclist, so I led some of my motorcycle friends through many of the local parades. I decided that I could use some of my strategic skills in helping Rolesville to grow. And that's the reason that I decided to become part of this, to run for office here in Rolesville. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Rami?
First, welcome. Thanks for coming. I do want to thank Rachel and Brad. The Chamber's always done a great job of hosting these events during this season, so thank you for that. I do want to thank Beth, my spouse, my wife. We'd be doing this without her, so thank you for coming and supporting, and we're doing this together, and I appreciate you coming. Who am I? What are my vital stats? I've been living in Rolesville for 28 years, town board for 18. Of those 18 served as mayor pro tem 8 years. Been on regional committees, committees with mayors and commissioners all around the 4 counties that's in our region. I've chaired that board. I'm president officer of Triangle J organization. Also executive member of the board in that region. Environmental environment where we're at today, we got good growth. We got good budget increase every year. I think what we need is new restaurants and new businesses, and that's what we need to work very hard to get those things. From a standpoint of future needs, what I support, we do need new parks, we need new greenways. We got plans to do that. I think we're going to get some of that accomplished in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Be excited about doing that. We need new facilities. This is nice, but we need our own facilities. We need our own town hall. We need our own police department, which police department is real lacking. We need to work on that. We started a capital fund about 2 years ago to start funding that stuff. And I think the last thing that's really good to mention is Main Street vision. That's taken off. Hope to have something finalized that by February to see where we go. That's a game changer for us. That's a big game changer. So excited about that. I think some of the things that we are concerned with is transportation from the standpoint of kind of congestion. So I think we need a new transportation plan. Last one we did is 2002, so we're going to update that. What is my attributes? What I have to have to separate me and make me ready for mayor? 3 things I give myself: experience, leadership, and commitment. I told you something about my experience from a leadership standpoint. I've been manager for 20 years. Got a BBA in business administration, focused on business. I believe in diversity and inclusion, stream ownership, and those type things. Committed. I've been committed to being mayor for quite a while. Beth and I known 4 years ago that the mayor was going to retire, told us in confidence. So I've been working on that. So I hope you guys support me because I am committed, and I knew we was going to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with our commissioner candidates. My last name also, Mr. Ed Corelli. Would you like to do your opening statement, please?
All right, thank you very much. First, let me start by saying, number one, I'm not a politician. I've never been a politician, so this is a first time run for me. So just bear with me if you would. By the way, can everybody hear me okay? Okay. This evening, I want to thank Rachel and the Chamber of Commerce for having us host this meeting tonight. I think it's very important, and it's great to see you folks out too, because we know that you're involved and want to know who your next commissioners are going to be. I've taken a little different tack as far as what I'm going to discuss tonight. And basically what I'd like to talk to you about is my platform. There are basically 5 pillars I have that hold up my platform. The first is fiscal responsibility. I know most people think that's a rather standard thing, but it's more than that. Running a town is very similar to running a business. And what I mean by that is we should be measuring our expenditures, because we're spending your money and our money. So we have to be prudent with what we do with those funds. We should always take a look at, I believe, expense versus revenue. So we know if we're spending X number of dollars, what is that going to mean overall for the community? So that's my first pillar. And by the way, what I'm about to tell you is not necessarily in any type of order. The second is to expand and grow our economic base, which is kind of similar to what Ronnie said. I took a look at the 2019-2020 budget, and about 89% of the money that goes into the general funds comes from our tax dollars. And the only way we're ever going to be able to spread that out so we don't bear the full burden of expenditures is to improve the economic base of the community. What that means is working as diligently as we can to bring in retail, industry, and commercial businesses. The next pillar is enhance our community amenities. There was an old movie by, can't remember his name now, Kevin Costner, build it and they will come. So as we look for a better quality of life in the community, I believe that's one of the things that we should look forward to try to accomplish. The other is to improve our infrastructure. And again, Ronnie already mentioned that. We need to find other modes of transportation. And last but not least is develop and execute a smart, comprehensive plan. And for those of you who know what a comprehensive plan is, it's this old hat. But those of you who don't, that is nothing more than a vision for the future written on a piece of paper, and a plan that meets the needs of the citizens now and in the future. With that being said, I just want to thank you very much for your time and consideration. I look forward to representing you in the election. Thank you. And don't forget to vote November 5th.
Well, thank you very much. Our next candidate, Stephen D. As it goes by, would you like to do your opening statement?
Sure. Ever since I was little, I've always been known as Stephen D. Because people can't spell my last name. So it makes it that much easier. A little bit about me is that, thank you, Rachel and the Chamber for putting this on, because this is great. We first thought there's only like 10 people here, and now it's full. Anyways, what I've been doing for the last 20 years has been a mortgage broker. How many people here have bought a house? Well, that's what I do day in, day out. I know numbers because I was a math major in college. I've done budgets. Going back to what's been said, you need to know what's coming in and where it's going. I also, being in the mortgage field, have a good pulse on what the housing market's doing and how to guide our city in that direction. And then just a little bit about myself is that I was actually the youngest Eagle Scout in Pinellas County, Florida, and still am. I did that by setting goals and commitment, and I still am involved with the Scouts. I'm a charter member of Rolesville Rotary Club. I was 7 years perfect attendance at North Raleigh Rotary Club before joining this club. Again, and board of directors. I had to listen to over 300 people that was talking to me about their ideas to get them to the board. So I listened. I was for 5 years on my church's council. I also had to represent 400 to 500 people of that church on their voice to get that to the board. I've been a past master of my Masonic Lodge. That took 8 years of going through all the steps to get there. And that was, again, listening to 300 to 400 people when they had something to say, and then realizing and making my vision come true. I've been the treasurer of my Amran Clown unit. We raise money for the Shriners Hospital. I just adopted a highway, Young Street, coming from the high school. And I've been involved with the community every chance I possibly can. And this is my chance to get into office. And what I was going to say is vote for me, Stephen D., and let your voice be heard.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Michelle Medley. Would you like to do your opening statement?
All right, yes, I would. First of all, I want to say thank you. Good evening to everyone for being here this evening. I want to say thank you to Rachel and the chamber. I want to say thank you to the chamber for hosting this event tonight. Thank you to Rachel for the reminders to do this, and that for tonight's event. And thank all of you tonight for coming out tonight. And thank you for when I've been knocking on your doors, you didn't sick your dogs on me. There are a lot of dogs definitely in Rolesville, so I appreciate that. My name is Michelle Medley, and I'm one of your current town commissioners. I've been married for 27 years to my best friend, my solid rock, Mark, who's here wearing my shirt tonight. Thank you, babe. We have two young adults in our house now, 19 and 24 years old. They can't be here tonight, obviously, but their support is right here with me. I am running for re-election because I am passionate about people and passionate about our town and passionate about the direction in which our town is going. I believe in community service and serving with the servant's heart. I have been involved in various programs here in Rolesville, at the local schools, with PTA, with boosters. I'm a Rotarian. I'm a part of the Business Alliance at Rolesville High School. And I'm one of the first graduates from the Launch Rolesville graduating class. I've also been a coach with Girls on the Run for 4 years, and I was instrumental in getting that group to come over to Rolesville Elementary School. Over to Rolesville Elementary School. I'm working on trying to get it now to Sanford Creek and our other local schools. I'm a member of the local Red Cross. I've been so for the past 12 years. And it's my honor to continue to work with the senior citizens here in Rolesville. I would like to continue providing them with the free holiday meals that we started doing last year. I've arranged financial seminars for them over at the Grand. And I've been working with the local fire department to try and coordinate safety fire drills for the seniors. This is just a few of my community activities that I've done so far, but my goal is to run for re-election so I can continue pursuing and implementing the plans to grow our town in a safe and reasonable manner. There are a lot of accomplishments that have been done over my past 4 years, but there is a lot more to be done. And I would like to continue to be a part of that. So I'm asking for your vote, for your support on November 5th, Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. April Sneed, would you like to lead your opening statement?
Good evening, and thank you, Rachel and the Chamber. I'm a 14-year resident of Rolesville and the wife of a retired United States Air Force veteran, the mother of 2 young men, a freshman and senior at Rolesville High School. I'm also a volunteer. Of the 8 years that I have lived, 8 of the 14 years that I have lived here in Rolesville, I was employed inside Rolesville's town limits. I was the executive director of the Rolesville Chamber of Commerce during their transition time, which afforded me the opportunity to work closely with the town of Rolesville and the town staff, helping me to better gain an understanding of how the town works and the vital importance of the businesses on our economy. Prior to running for office, I attended town meetings and routinely perused meeting minutes in order to deliver accurate information to family and friends. I am asking for your support because I am ready and willing to listen and learn, to advocate for, and to properly prepare for meetings to make the most informed decisions for you, the citizens of Rolesville. I'm advocating for the promotion of economic development to relieve the resident tax burdens. I want to ensure that growth is something done as a community and not something that we look back at asking ourselves, how did we get here or how did we fix it? I believe in the growth of Rolesville, but not solely at the expense of us, the homeowners. Thus, the need to expand our commercial base to offset the taxes needed for growth, which I understand is not an overnight fix. I'm also advocating for community development to better prepare and educate our residents on being part of this change. I'd like to see entrepreneur courses for residents dreaming of expanding their home-based and small businesses and offering guidance to those hoping to start their own. I'd like to see classes offered for topics on resume writing and coaching on how to work cross-generationally in the workforce to guide, and also guidance on writing business plans. Finally, I'm advocating for development and leadership programs for our teens. I would like to see the town assist our parents in preparing our youth to become successful, productive members of society. While with the Chamber, I worked with the Rolesville High School Business Alliance and approached the town seeking a partnership with them to support the youth leadership program at our high school. I'm excited to say they agreed, and the program is now in its 3rd year, the program that Rachel has spoken about. I believe the town also needs a youth leadership or a youth council program, as well as to educate them on working cross-generationally in today's workforce. Rolesville is at a pivotal point right now, and I am excited to be part of the leadership of our town, to be able to elevate our residents and town at the same time. I know Rolesville, both as a resident and as a leader, and I'd like to ask for your support and your votes on November 5th.
Cool, thank you very much. Our last candidate is Sheila Sutton.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay, great. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber, Rachel and her leadership and all that she's done and her team. And thank you all for being here because it takes an engaged community. We are a community, we work together. So I thank you all for being here. One of my early encounters with the town was in 2014 when I pestered Brian Hicks, our former town manager, and DOT about getting a light at Jonesville Road and South Main Street. My concern rose out of having two young drivers who drove that way out of Rolesville before the bypass was built. The bypass finally opened in 2015, but we still did not get a light at the intersection until 2018, when Rolesville Charter opened. Today, I am glad that all drivers are now able to access Main Street from Jonesville Road safely. I say this to say that the pace of municipal government is very slow, and it takes commitment, patience, and service to be successful. I am serving to make a difference in our community. I've been here for 15 years. My stance when I first decided to run in 2015 was commitment, and my stance is still that today. I was a trailing spouse of my husband, Carlton, of his 22-year Army career. Go Army, hooah. So serving in this role reminds me very much of the military. Service to me means you are not here for a title, but it is servant leadership because we work for and we are here because of this community. Service means sacrifice, coming to meetings ahead of time, prepared and ready to engage with the public, reading and reviewing anywhere from 100 to 250 pages of material in advance, and working between meetings to better understand issues that affect our community. It is more than 2 meetings a month. Service means you work for very little pay. Commissioners make about $7,800 a year. It is volunteer work, or about $650 a month. I have heard that some town officials up north make $100,000 a year. Not the case here. During my short, almost 4-year tenure here, my focus has been and continues to be proactive and diverse communication methods. I heard a lot about secret meetings when I entered or came onto the board. Now we have a weekly email blast and we post a lot on Nextdoor. We have balanced economic growth, and I push to hire an economic development person full-time, not a contractor. Couple more points. We voted to hire Rose and Associates, Kathleen Rose, who developed our current economic development strategic plan that we never had before, and we've begun by tackling branding. Some examples are our town logo, our website, and the wayfinding signage that you see today. We also have a new bus in Rolesville, if some of you may not know. And lastly, I just want to talk about, we want to be intentional. We want this community to look quality
Thank you,
and
ma'am.
quality
Thank you.
neighborhoods.
Time's up.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for their opening statements. Now, I think we're going to get to the meat of the program tonight, and that's the questions. There's a lot of questions. Over 35 questions. More than half are about economic development. If you'd like to know the theme of tonight, it's going to be about economic development. Luckily, a lot of them are similar questions, so the audience thinks the same of the area. So tonight we each give candidate 1 minute to kind of give us a brief answer to the question. We'll give one question and everybody gets to answer it. We'll kind of start one direction on the first question and start the other direction going back, okay? So tonight's first question for Stephen D. We'll start with you. What qualifications or approach to town government make you the best candidate for this position?
I would say I'm well-rounded in a lot of different fields. I've been even part of being on the cleanup committee, hands-on different types of work that I've done, gives me that perspective that will bring something different to the table.
Thank you. Michelle?
Well, I think obviously, partly is my having served on the board, also being a resident for the last 15 years gives me a unique perspective. When I moved here, there were less than 1,000 residents in Rolesville, and today we have over 8,000. So getting on the board, being on the board, there is a learning curve. So I have spent the last 4 years learning and being able to apply that knowledge to make the best and most informed decisions for our citizens here in Rolesville.
Okay, thank you. Zed?
Thank you. The reason I think that I'm best qualified for the position of commissioner is that I've been a businessman for over the last 40 years. I've owned a small company that I grew from, had you like 3 employees to over 50. I've also worked for Fortune 500 companies in various positions as a manager. So I'm well versed, and I've got a number of business licenses as well. I'm a real estate instructor, a sales instructor. I've got a mortgage broker's license. So there's a number of things that have really helped improve my skill sets. And again, I said that running a town is very similar to running a business, which you have to have commitment, which I have, time, which my wife tells me I have plenty of. So I'm ready to take the challenge and be the best commissioner that I can be for you, the citizens of Rolesville.
Thank you. Mr. James?
Thank you. My background is in software development at federal agencies. Some of the budgets that I've had to maintain are larger than Rolesville's budget. Some of them have actually double Rolesville's budget. In order for me to be able to bring systems in on time and within budget, I have to have a strategic plan. This is where really my position on pretty much everything that I do. Start with a plan. That plan includes involving all stakeholders, getting input. I'm a really good listener, more so than a talker. So my approach is to make sure that I include as many stakeholders as possible, develop a strategic plan, and then implement that plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ronnie?
Ronnie, one interruption very quickly. If you could just state your name before you actually speak. For the people that are on live, they can't exactly see the place cards in front of you. So if you could just say your name, like I would say Rachel Morris, candidate for being the best mother in the world. And, and then proceed. Thank you.
Ronnie Kern, candidate for mayor. I think I mentioned a couple of these things in my opening statement. I see experience, leadership, and commitment. I think I expanded on most of those, but just thinking back, and I think Commissioner Sutton mentioned it, and there's at least 2 commissioners that served on this board in the audience out there as I see. It takes a while to understand town business. It takes a while to understand how to work. So a mayor's job is probably one of the important jobs in town. To provide direction and leadership on that. I would think you would need somebody with experience and leadership and also committed to the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. April?
April Sneed, and I'm running for Commissioner of Rolesville. And I feel that I am qualified for this position because I have been a resident for Rolesville for almost 14 years. I have grown up through Rolesville. I stated I have worked here in Rolesville, but the biggest one that makes me feel like I am qualified for this position was my role in the Rolesville Chamber of Commerce. I started with the Rolesville Chamber. I was hired to redirect and breathe new life into the chamber, which I successfully did. And through that, as I had stated, I had the opportunity to work very closely with the town and the staff to help me gain a better understanding of how our town works and the importance of our businesses to the town. So I think that experience in itself provided a great opportunity for me to be in this role.
Thank you. Ms. Michelle?
Michelle Metley, candidate for commissioner. I think my experience for the past 4 years on this board has been, if nothing more than eye-opening. It's been grinding. It's definitely not what I thought it would be in terms of economic development prior to my getting on the board. But thankful for the position that I had, where I was sent out to different states, different conferences, speaking with different companies, in regards to how economic development really affects your town, what you need to be a town that, that needs that economy to, what do you call it, the commercial aspect of it, the small business aspect of it. Just learning all of that over the past 4 years has really taught me that I really need to stay here and learn more. There is a lot involved in economic development. It's not just the commercial estate. It's not just the residential. There's many components that make up what a positive economic development strategy would do for your community. So basically, I just feel I need to learn more. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Okay, the questions tonight from the audience, I was trying to consolidate because there's several of them that are about the same type of question. And tonight's first economic development question is, everybody in the audience mentioned the need for commercial growth in Rolesville. It seems that a lot of homes have been approved in the area and tax base is very strong on the residential side, okay? What would you do to bring business and commercial opportunities to Rolesville to help offset some of the tax base from being a residential tax base to a commercial tax base? What would be your plan for that? Michelle?
Okay, so that is something that we've all been working on as a board for the past 4 years, and even beyond that, for those who've been on the board beyond that. It's, you know, right now we are building very heavy in residential, and we need to set ourselves up to say, okay, this is where residential will go, this is where our commercial will go. But there's other aspects to it besides what we want as a town. What can we do in terms of rooftops? Like how many buildings do we have? What do we do in terms of our small businesses? There is the growth factor that we're experiencing will help us with commercial, but at the end of the day, it's that company deciding, is Rolesville going to be profitable to us? Right now, Rolesville is what's considered a bedroom community. We know that, other businesses know that, but right now, with the growth that we are experiencing, other larger commercial type buildings, companies are looking at us as a potential landing spot for them. So basically, we have to keep doing what we're doing, but be mindful of our residential growth, because I think right now our residential is about 80% versus our.
Thank you, Michelle. Time's up. April?
April Sneed, running for Commissioner of Rolesville. I believe that I would be instrumental in helping to bring commercial businesses to Rolesville. When I was at the Chamber of Commerce, I did reach out to a company that develops Cameron Village, and I had brought them to the town, which the town wasn't quite ready for. So I believed in using any resources that I have, any connections that I have, not saying that I have a ton, but any ones that I have to reach out to help bring businesses to Rolesville. I do understand that with the new Main Street Center, that a lot of the businesses in Cameron Village are expressing an interest to come here with the Main Street Center for the shops. And I think that is extremely important, and I would do whatever I could do to get out and speak with the business leaders in that area to see if I could be interested in coming here to Rolesville.
Thank you. Ms. Riley?
Ryan, current candidate for mayor. I think what was been mentioned so far is correct. I think what April said is right on. Just because you want them to come and ask them to come, they don't. You got to have a hook. You got to have something to draw. In other words, for a business to come in and spend that capital to build something in Rolesville, you got to have a reason for them to come. And like I said earlier, I think this Main Street revision thing is big. In fact, we're looking at two very large possibilities today. One in the old part of town, and one on South Main, way down on South Main. Both of them are huge. Both of them are game changers. But you have to do it. You have to do it in that fashion rather than trying to get one company to come. I know the commissioners work very hard on trying to do that, and it doesn't happen. You got to have a hook. You got to have a reason for them to come, and that's what we've been working on.
Thank you. Mr. James?
I believe that in order for you to be able to attract the types of businesses that you like to come to Rolesville, that you need to start with a plan. You should have some idea of what you want the town to look like. Not just the downtown. The downtown is relatively small, so you're not going to get a lot of businesses in the downtown area. Rolesville is spread out considerably. So if you have a plan of how you expect the town to look and how these businesses can assist you in growing the town, I think that's a good start. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ed?
Oh, I'm sorry. James Bradford, candidate for mayor.
Mr. Ed?
Hi, my name is Ed Corelli. I'm running for Commissioner of Rolesville. You folks just asked a fabulous question. It is probably one of the most important things as commissioners and mayor that you need to do in a town, and that is to increase your economic development. It's not a 1-minute soundbite, I can assure you. But what it takes is a lot of planning, as Brad said, and a lot of go do it. So my suggestion would be that you have to do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people, because Ronnie said, there's got to be a reason for them to come here. What is our reason? The first thing we have to do is come up with the reason why business should move to Rolesville. And until we do that, until we get more economic growth in Rolesville, you, the taxpayer, are going to be continued to be burdened down with taxes. Now, I know our taxes are
Thank you very much. Time up.
pretty steady. Thank you.
Ms. Sheila?
Sheila Sutton, candidate for commissioner, your Rolesville commissioner. I think the main thing that everyone has said, and I'll restate, you do need a plan. And that's why we have a full-time economic development director committed to working on Rolesville's efforts every day. We never had that before. And we also have developed, with the assistance of Rose and Associates who we hired, we have an economic development strategic plan that is critical. So that's the plan that we have, and that's the plan that we're working on. So I think that's our first step, and now it's time to work that plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stephen?
Stephen D. Dykehouse, running for Rolesville Commissioner. A lot of stuff is exactly what's in line, but the people will not come here until they hit a magic number. I don't know if you know that, but usually it's 10,000 people. They will not come until you hit a certain mark. Nightdale stayed at 3,500 for a long time. They finally got to 10,000, then what happened? See all their growth? They just ballooned out, and they can't keep the people from coming because all the industry's there. So the housing that we're building and along that main street, they're gonna finally see the light that we are where they wanna come. It may take a year or two, but they are gonna come. Stephen Dykehouse for Rolesville Commissioner.
Thank you. All right, our next question, kind of still along the line of economic development. Regardless of what you feel about the Lafayette project, what is the biggest benefit and the biggest drawback of the project? Stephen?
Stephen D. Dykehouse, Rolesville Commissioner. I like the way the design is. I like the way it's formatted, that you have residents on top, townhouses in the back that's more affordable, and a place the families can actually go to enjoy something. You have Friday night on Main, or Friday night on White, and then you have Friday night in Lewisburg on the Tar. We need something to draw the people to town where the people can actually go shopping. Drawbacks, traffic. We are not set up for that much traffic to come into one area. Stephen Dykehouse, Commissioner.
Thank you. Ms. Sheila?
Sheila Sutton, Rolesville Commissioner. I believe that it is a great project in the sense that it will add something to Rolesville. Development, if they come now, they're taking a risk. And for them to take a risk brings other developers. So that's important. Something that I think we must be mindful of is the traffic. We have to be mindful of those roads in that cross section of Rolesville. And we are real particular on the board about traffic impact studies. So we will be watching that as well. But I also like one other point that I like that they are developers that it's all inclusive versus a bunch of different people building. So I think it's a great project and we have to be careful and watch what's going on very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ed?
Thank you, Ed Corelli, Commissioner of Rolesville. I think it's a very positive thing. It's something that we do not have now, and I think the people have been looking for this for quite a while. But I really can't give you a real firm answer on anything negative because, quite frankly, I haven't seen the impact, as Sheila spoke about, or any other negative effects that would negatively affect the town. So I'd like to take a look at the numbers and then make a decision based on what I see, because it's amazing when you make the right decision, all the facts jump out at you when you have all the information. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James?
James Bradford, candidate for mayor of Rolesville. I think the project is, in theory, a good project. Like my friend Ed here, I haven't seen the plans either, so I don't know if there are negative impacts. But any project that doesn't take into consideration impact on traffic is probably not such a good idea. So that's my thoughts.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ronnie?
Ronnie Curran, candidate for mayor. Yeah, I support the project that you mentioned, and it will be a good thing for Rolesville if it takes place. I think it's a good managed thing at Lafayette Village for people that have seen that understand that. Anything we do, any growth that we have, the pain of growth is transportation, and that's what will be down there with the project. You know, I mentioned that we're working with a 2002 transportation plan that's very outdated, and we should get a new one in the next 6 to 8 months. So, you know, things that we look at, probably not this one because it's not going to be in time, but we always need to kind of look at what we can do to grow, healthy growth, and part of health is to have a good, healthy transportation system. So I think the project is good, and I think, you know, if it comes before the board, it will be, you know, very successful.
Thank you. Ms. April?
April Sneed, running for commissioner for the town of Rolesville. I think that the Main Street Center is an amazing project. I'm excited about it. I think that it will give Rolesville a center, a sense of community, places for us to go with our families and just kind of hang out. A nice stroll up to the corner to have a dinner or an ice cream. I think it's a great concept for Rolesville. The drawback, as has already been stated, would be my greatest concern would be the traffic. And I think that that is something that we would have to have in place and that needs to seriously be thought out before anything is built, because I think there are other areas around us that have great traffic problems, and I think that those are areas that we can learn from, mistakes not to make.
Thank you. Ms. Michelle?
I do believe that the Lafayette Plaza project is an amazing project, has a lot of potential. There's a lot of excitement from our local small businesses, because with a company like that coming in, it means a lot for their businesses. I am concerned very much in regards to the infrastructure not being in place at this time, but that will all be addressed at the right time. Traffic is definitely something that I fear for a project as big as that, but I do know that already I personally receive phone calls from like Chick-fil-A, from like Dunkin' Donuts, asking what's going on with this here, what can you tell me about Lafayette Plaza? So the buzz is out there, which I think is phenomenal for all of us as citizens and as business owners, for a company like Lafayette, a business like Lafayette to come to Rolesville. And the location is great, being next to the park, walking distance. It's a good concept, and I hope that it can come to Rolesville, and I hope that we are able to make it work in regards to our infrastructure and the issues with our traffic situation.
Well, thank you. All right, our next question.
We will now have you stop announcing yourself. We think that the live stream is aware of who you are.
All right.
Do we get some time back?
All right, our next question. As a commissioner, we're going to talk about your people skills now. One of our questions is, how will you work with other council members on trying to get a consensus to move a project forward? Because you are one vote of many others. So how will you try to get something passed and work with others? Michelle?
Well, that's a very good question. And it's a little challenging, because basically you're supposed to be able to talk to your commissioners, talk it out, you know, as we do in the town meetings in your town, because oftentimes we don't talk to each other beforehand. So you really want to give your good points, like what you think this project will bring to the table, and your negative points. But really, communication is key, and being willing to accept that somebody may not agree with you is very, very important. So you do want to try and convince that person, or persuade, or whichever adjective you want to use, to understand your side of it. But at the end of the day, be receptive to the fact that they may not, and you will have to work with that final result, whether it's what you wanted or what they wanted. So just open communication is very important, being transparent and honest in your beliefs on what you're asking of them.
Okay, thank you. April?
I have written down the words transparency and honesty that Michelle just mentioned. I think that is extremely important, but I do believe in educating myself as much as possible on the facts about any project before any decisions are made. So I would just share with my fellow commissioners the facts as they are, and hopefully speak with them about the pros and the cons so that we could hash it out and come to an agreement.
Thank you. Mr. Rowland?
Yes, I think it's very important. Now, as a mayor, I will not have a vote. So, you know, a mayor's job is more facilitating and actually making sure the board is working together, and also everybody is heard, in my opinion, in facilitating it. So I would not have a vote, but I do have, as mayor, you do have a big part of that. I think I like the mention of transparency. You know, that's one of the things that I would want to strive for. You know, if I'm elected, if I'm chosen to be mayor, one of the things already has put in place is I want the meetings to be televised, and I want them to be out where the public can see what's going on in the board meetings. We've never done that before, but you know, my goal from day one, the first meeting, if I'm elected mayor, that it would be completely transparent, that everybody will see what's going on in meetings live if you want to, or delayed on our website. So
Thank you very much. Time up. Mr. James?
So I think that in order to be able to work well with others, you have to have good debate skills, first of all, and having good debate skills means that you need to know the subject matter very well. You need to dig in and get as much information so that you can present your case. But you also have to have really good listening skills, because just because your opinion is one thing doesn't mean that others are going to be the same. And then you have to have really good negotiating skills. So you have an idea, you have a well thought out idea, you assume the other people have a well thought idea, and then you bring those ideas together to work for a combined solution.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ed?
Hey, Corelli, running for commissioner. In order to get along and have your point taken with the other commissioners, is that you, first of all, need to educate yourself, as Amy said, on the issue at hand. You have to keep in the back of your mind what is going to be best for the community, and then come to a consensus with all your commissioners.
Thank you. Michelle?
So something that we have done with our board, because every 2 years you can potentially have a new board. And I think something that we've done is we've done team building. We've gone away on retreats to build, getting to know each other, because that helps you, because all of this is a negotiation process. Being on the board, being team members, learning to negotiate, and you can talk before the meetings to talk, as long as it's not quasi-judicial and you're making a vote, but you can have discussions. But I do think that team building is very important, and it makes a difference in how you relate to one another. Thank you.
Mr. Stephen? That's a great idea. First of all, you just need to have a lot of general knowledge. Then you need to be able to get to the resources to find those facts, not just accept somebody else's facts. And then be able to actually openly discuss and present your viewpoint, and then listen to the others. And maybe they make a better point than you do, and you change your point of view right then and there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next hot topic for tonight is traffic. Y'all know what was coming. With only 4 main roads in Roseville, what are we going to do with the traffic? What is your plan to help alleviate traffic in Roseville? Stephen?
Every meeting I've been to, the only thing I hear is DOT. That we can't change the roads, we can't change the speed limits, we can't do anything with the roads except for hope and pray that they actually expand these roads out to 4 lanes. I'm all for getting a 4-lane road through Rolesville.
Thank you. Michelle?
Sheila. Sheila.
I think I say Miss Sheila too fast. Michelle.
Because he did say Miss Sheila, right?
Okay, sorry.
Because Rachel
You get
keeps
mixed up a
kicking me
lot.
over here. Okay.
Gotcha. I agree that DOT has a big component of it, but I think a bigger part that we have to push for, because developers come before us, because it is our responsibility to push back on those developers to help us with our infrastructure. We've seen this take place in Raleigh, Cary, Wake Forest, where they come and build, but they don't help with the infrastructure. It's our duty as this board to push back and make sure they're not only building communities, but they're also building infrastructure. So I do think developers have a big responsibility, and we'll push for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ed?
Ed Corelli, Commissioner of Roseville. That's a major problem. And the traffic, if you get out here early in the morning or late in the afternoon, you know that they're pretty much bumper to bumper. And as far as the things that we can do, is we have to start to look at infrastructure, I think, in a different light. Rather than more roads and more growth, more cars, that we need to look and see, are there other modes of transportation that can be implemented here? I know it takes a lot of money and a lot of time, but those are the things I think we should start to look for.
Thank you. Mr. James?
So growth naturally means that you're going to have more traffic. That's a given. However, when you are starting to build out your plan needs to think about, needs to look at the possibility for how you can structure the town so that you minimize the impact of traffic. Then when you have your discussions with developers, make sure that these developers are including your thoughts when they start showing you their plans for whatever it is they want to develop. Thank you.
Mr. Raleigh?
Yeah, I think I talked about the plan that we're getting ready to update, the transportation plan, but that's just in the town of Rolesville. You know, I think I talked to somebody the other day and they mentioned, well, that's good for the town, but you know, how do you get to Raleigh? And that's a very good point. You know, and when we have no control over that. So unless we have a good road from here to Raleigh or here to 540, which people catches and go to their places, we're not going to get there. Now, you know, a mayor, like I said, doesn't vote, but a mayor has to have connections. You know, I've worked alongside a lot of other colleagues that's in other municipalities, you know, regional work. I know Sig Hutchinson on the county board that I've worked with. So, you know, it's important the mayor to have a network with Campo and other places that, you know, our problems with town that we can't control, that has to be controlled by other entities. You can relate to that.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
I am going to agree with both Sheila and Ronnie on this one, because I have noticed that in watching other debates with other municipalities, that a lot of them also have problems with their traffic. And a lot of them are talking about how the developer needs to be responsible for that roadway in front of whatever it is that they're developing, to take care of that instead of leaving that for the town to bear the burden. So I think that's extremely important that we push back on those developers, because if they want to develop in our town, then I think they should have to pay that price in order to do so.
Thank you. Ms. Michelle?
Yes, when I think about the traffic issues in Roseville, I think about the developers, I think about what we have on the records to remind the developers that you have to do your part. We have to build that has to be built, the infrastructure has to be built. The roads, the traffic lights, but we also need to consider, like Ed said, other modes of transportation. So now we're starting to include bike lanes in our plans. That's something, we do have the busing that's taking place in Roseville now. So again, it's not just falling on the developers, but it falls on us as commissioners to make sure we have things in place so the developers can't sidestep or bypass what they have to do. So yes, it falls on the commissioners and it will fall on the developers, but we have to make sure we have things in place.
Thank you. All right, our next question, with all the residential growth, do you feel that Roseville has enough police and fire EMS staff for the proposed growth that's happening? Do you feel that there's enough staff on the fire and EMS and police to handle the additional growth going on in Roseville?
I personally feel that we do not. I think they're doing a good job with what they have, but we definitely need more. In terms of the fire department, I am on that committee where we are trying to select another fire department. I am working with them, as are several other commissioners. We are less than 4 miles in radius and we have one firehouse. We have land, but we don't have other firehouses. So we definitely need to get another firehouse in here to help support Rolesville. As for our police, I feel Chief Soto is doing a fantastic job with what he has, but we are still growing. I don't even think with the amount of growing that we still have to do that's on the books, we do not have enough police. We do not have enough firemen. So, no, with the residential growth we have, we need to step back and look at what we have and where we're heading sooner than later.
Thank you.
Okay.
April?
I also agree, we do not have enough police, we do not have enough fire stations, and the EMS, I did speak with the director of the EMS, which I'll touch on in just a minute. I do believe that with the growth that we are experiencing, that our safety should be of paramount importance to this board and to any entity that is considering more building without taking a look at the fire or the police or the EMS. I do know that I was told that to help us with the growth, that EMS, they have added a new bus at the Hopkins Road in Zebulon to service us. And they also have a new facility on New Hope and Fox Road to service us, so that their response time is between 9 and 11 minutes. So they've added these extra buses in order to take care of us, but I hope that will continue to grow as our resident numbers continue to grow.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan?
Yes, I've served quite a while now on the Public Safety Committee, which is the committee that we meet once a month, fire department, police department, and EMS. And most of those entities, that especially EMS is Wake County controlled, police is Rolesville controlled naturally, and the volunteer fire department is more of a private sector. All of them are doing a fantastic job, and as we grow, we are challenged with that. I think some of you may have seen the work that Wake Forest did with the fire department. One of the challenges to keep employees has to do with benefits, and our fire department is volunteer and doesn't have benefits. So that's something we've really got to address in the near future, is how does a town and the volunteer fire department work together to meet our needs, which if we don't do anything is not the answer. So we got to do something.
Thank you very much. Mr. James?
So I believe the question was whether we have enough police and firemen to accommodate future growth.
Yes, whether you feel that way.
Obviously, we don't, but I think we have adequate of both for our current plans, for where we are now. What I've seen since I've been here is that the town manages to grow the forces, the police force and the fire department as the town grows, and I think that will continue.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ed?
Could you repeat the question for me?
Do you feel that we have enough police and fire EMF staff for the proposed growth happening in Roseville?
Well, the only thing I can say about the police and fire is I had an opportunity to look at some of the demographic studies of Roseville, and our police and fire rated an A+. So without knowing the total numbers of the growth and how many officers per 100 or 50, I really am not sure as to the effectiveness of how many police and fire we currently have.
Thank you. Sheila?
So during my time on the board, we have done studies on our police force as well as our fire department about that we are understaffed in both capacities compared to other municipalities. So that is a focus. We've talked about that a lot. Everything takes funding. So we are looking at those plans, and that's something we definitely want to do. We know safety is important. So no, we are understaffed. They do a phenomenal job. Not only police and fire, but also our Rolesville town staff with a little bit. So they do a phenomenal job, but we have to continue to do more because they are not enough. Thank you.
Steve?
My issue would be that in the last year, we picked up 1,200 to 1,500 new homes, or households. With that increases the tax base. That gives you more money, more resources to hire more police and more EMS and more safety officers. I do believe they are understaffed a little bit now, and if you put in another 900 houses in, you're going to need more coverage, which will be recouped by the new taxes. So it's not like we're going to lose anything by hiring them, and might as well be safe than sorry.
Thank you very much. This question is for the two mayor candidates. We'll start with Mr. Ronnie. What do you feel are the responsibilities of the mayor? The responsibilities and duties of a mayor?
Yeah, I think overall, the responsibility of the mayor is to serve the citizens. That's your number one reason you're elected, is you're elected by the citizens. I think it is the face of the town. It's the ones that the mayor's the one that communicates with your fellow towns and county. So it has to be someone that is known, someone that has contacts with others, because it's really needed at times. And I think the most important thing, the mayor, really, and to be really successful, a mayor has to have the support of the board. They have to have their 5 commissioners backing them. If they don't, then the mayor is kind of sort of like a lame duck. And I think I have the backing of the board. I think all existing commissioners favor me for mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ron. Mr. James?
I think the responsibility of the mayor is to take the pulse of the citizens, to understand what the citizens' needs are, and look at ways that he can help the citizens, he or she can help the citizens meet those needs. The town leaders should identify a problem. Then they should enlist the citizens to help solve the problem. Citizens have a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge, a lot of vigor. And I think that when you use the citizens, use those skills, it'll help all. I also think it's important to have really good communication skills, that you are able to interact with people at all levels, and that helps you to bring resources into the town. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, to kind of move along, because we're still getting more and more questions. I'm getting overloaded here. I'm gonna read a question, and if you'd like to answer it, let me know. Just kind of raise your hand type thing if you'd like to answer it, and we'll take 2. And then we'll move on to the next question. So that way we can get more questions answered, okay? How do you plan to inform, target the youth about the things in Rolesville? Will there be a community events, or will it be through social media? I'm believing they want to know.
Can you repeat the question, please?
How do you plan to inform the youth in Rolesville about things going on in Rolesville? Will there be like a community events calendar, or will it be through social media? Michelle, would you like to take that?
I would say that ever since we partnered with the Chamber for the Youth Leadership Program, that anything that we do have, our doors are open to them. And if there's something going on, they are informed through the Chamber. But through us directly, I don't know that the commissioners individually, if I know something's going on, I always make it my business to make sure those at the school know about it, the teachers, the counselors, the principal. But I feel like our relationship, our partnership with the Chamber helps to create that bond for the students to know you can go to the Chamber, you can come to the town, and we will share what's going on. If something's coming up, that we feel is geared toward the youth, I think we have I don't know, I just think it goes to the chamber and the chamber does share that information. So I think our partnership with them, is working. It can be improved, maybe, I'm not sure, but it is working. They know what's going on.
Just to add on that, the chamber is actually working on building a youth council, and that's what she's actually referring to. Is that's one of our initiatives that's coming out of the next year of how do we actually reach the youth, and that's to give our youth in Rolesville an actual voice. So that's what she's actually referencing. That's not what she said out loud directly, but that's kind of what she's alluding
I was
to.
trying to kind of keep it a little low until it was officially announced. But
Anybody else want to tackle that one?
My answer was gonna be a youth council.
Okay.
My answer was gonna be a youth council.
All right, here's a quick one somebody can answer. We've discussed about bringing commercial business to Rolesville. Is there any plans for a library in Rolesville?
I can answer that. The library is a Wake County library. And I would say, all of us, including, Mayor Eagles, he's been mayor for 12 years. We all have worked very hard to get a Wake County library here. The library in Wake County connects with bonds and stuff to do their financing, so it's very complicated. And one of the directions also is they have to do it on their own land. They have to do their own buildings. They won't do a library in a shopping center or something. So we work very hard, and they are actively looking for land today. They identified 2 or 3 sites that Wake County is looking to buy. They have it in their bond to put one here. So, I think the first step when we see them buy land and we see them make that commitment to buy land, I think we will see a library come after that. But the only thing we can do is work hard to encourage the county commissioners to do that.
Thank you very much.
Can I add just a little bit to that?
Yes.
I was just gonna say, Ronnie's exactly right, but what also helps is us having an economic development director. You want somebody talking about Rolesville when we're not in the room. So you wanna get in with the county and you want somebody constantly working that relationship. That is crucial.
Thank you. Our next question. What is the plan to offset development clear cutting? I can't read the rest of this. I'm assuming it's want to offset the sheer residential growth of different developments coming to town. How are you gonna slow it down? Would you slow it down? Would you continue it? How would you
residential or commercial?
residential?
Yeah, I would say, and Sheila's working with me on that. We're looking at having a vision, or we can call it a strategic vision for the town. We kind of nailed it down to the person we're going to do that. We're going to get the vision, and I mentioned this a couple of times on some of the websites that I have out there. We want your vision. We want whatever you guys want as a vision, and we want to incorporate that into not only the budget, which that's what a lot of these strategic plans deals with the budget, but also the way we do comprehensive land use plans and how we grow in the future. I think one other thing I'll mention is we're looking at the UDO and what we can change on there. And one of the things we're looking hard at is to increase the requirement to have open space in these developments. And I think that would help a lot. I mean, you're still going to have some clear cutting and stuff like that, but you have more natural areas if we require more open space. Well, we require 10% now, but I think we can require more in the future.
Okay. Can I hear from one of the people that are not candidates right now on what they would do about growth? April, Stephen, Ed?
You said not candidates?
Or
I think we're all-
Not commissioners, sorry, y'all are candidates. Any new people want
What was the question again, please?
to, basically, what would you do to offset development, clear cutting, and offset the growth, to kind of slow the growth down, I think is what, I have several of them here that says, what are you gonna do about all the growth happening?
I have an answer for the clear cutting.
Okay.
And those are separate issues that you just brought up.
Mhm.
One hasn't anything to do with the other necessarily. But for clear cutting, if a developer decides that they want to come in and put in a community, a development business, and they're cutting trees down, we are a Tree City USA. So I believe that we should make sure that they have a plan to replace a lot of those trees.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the next one. What would you do to diversify the town staff and make it reflective of the town's citizens?
Wow, that's a great question. I would definitely like to take a stab at that one.
All right.
I just feel that when we, for example, we advertise when there's a position open in our town, we need to open up that pool to not just the regular normal things that Rolesville has done in the past. There are other pools in which to draw from, and I believe that we have not hit upon that yet. We really need to, because when you walk into town hall anywhere, everybody should look like the citizens that live there. And until we start being more cognizant of that, we're not gonna move. So I just feel that we just have to start expanding where we go and how we search for employees in Rolesville.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right.
I think it also helps, I think it also helps to engage your citizens because our committees can be diverse. So those perspectives are important. So I do think it's important to engage your community until you can diversify your staff. So that matters as well.
Okay. How would you help the senior population in Rolesville? Let's try to get somebody that hasn't answered yet. Hold on, Mr. Ed, you want?
Almost being a senior, I say, one of the best ways is to have some type of civic center where the people can go and have a diversity of things to do. I mean, right now, I know we have a civic center, I think it's right next to
Community center.
this building right here, but I also noticed they charge you $35 an hour and the minimum is 2 hours. So I think that some of that can probably be rolled into taxes that we pay. No, that's not true?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I just figured it was hot in here.
Oh, no, they're hot in here. Okay, so that's it. I mean, I think that the youth and adults both need to have some additional things to do in the city. So Civic Center is one thing that I would like to give a lot of consideration to.
Okay.
I'd like to respond to that too. Do I need to wait?
Yep. Let Stephen, we can let somebody grab it.
Okay.
Stephen?
Well, I know that this afternoon or this noon, we had bingo for the seniors. This last month, it was a record. It was a huge turnout that was at the shelter, but they couldn't find it at first because they thought it was on Main Street and it was on the back end side. But that's well attended and people came out and had a good time and they were playing all kinds of games. And it was all different ages. I mean, it was fun. So yes, we need more things though for the seniors to get involved with the community.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, you want to grab it?
I did. I just want to say that I do think that the town is doing a great job incorporating more senior programs every day. But one of the things we have to be mindful of is pricing. If we can do more in terms of, or even the citizens can offer to do more with our senior citizens, because most of them, especially at the grant, they're on a fixed income. So when you're having something that costs $25, you're not going to get a great turnout. But I know there's a cost to everything. But I just think that we have to be more open-minded in what we do and how we approach our seniors about it, because they are willing to. But right now, I think cost is a factor for that.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question too?
Sure, last one.
Last one. Yeah, I think it's an important question.
Mhm.
I know we get wrapped up with economic development, that kind of stuff, but it is important, you know, for senior citizens that feel like they are included and have things to do. And everybody's right. We do have a lot of programs going on. We got, you know, a person, activities person, a coordinator that works with that. But I was just meeting with Ms. Pat Edwards a couple of days ago, and some of you may know her. And she said we do have a lot of things, but we don't have everything going on. So as a mayor, you get a chance to put committees together. So she gave me the idea after talking to her that one of the things I may would try to do if I'm elected mayor is to have a senior citizens committee or council that just do nothing but generate ideas that we can implement in town.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, our next question. How would you support the small businesses in Rolesville that are already here struggling to stay open because of the lack of day business, where residents spend their time in other surrounding towns?
Isn't that like $1 million question? That's what we're trying to do. I'm a small business owner myself in Rolesville. And basically, your business, it's so sporadic being a small business owner in Rolesville. And I know some people who own restaurants here have said, if it wasn't for, say, Rolesville High School asking for help with the concessions or the night business, they would have no business. So, and I mean, I have a co-working business, so, you know, you get people that drop in here or there. But that is $1 million question. What do we do? And one of the things that I propose to do, and it's part of what the chamber does, have those meetings, encourage those business owners, not just the ones that are chamber members, because a lot of them are not, but the ones that are stay at home, that work from home. And I've met so many of them knocking on doors. So we have to find a way to reach those people and meet with those people on a regular basis to try to see what we can do to help encourage citizens to patron their business. That makes sense.
I also believe that just having come from a chamber background, that educating our business leaders on how to better market themselves is one of the responsibilities of the chamber, and I think that it's extremely vital to find different avenues in today's, technological world of getting out and promoting their businesses.
Okay. Anybody else?
No, there's one other thing I want to say.
Mm-mm.
How do we, okay, I won't, because that's a complaint.
All right, next question. Are there any plans along the line, we talked about seniors. Now we're going to be talking about any plans to help support artists in the community, like quilts, art-focused events like Wake Forest. Anything about the artists in Rolesville?
The question is there a plan?
Do you have a plan to help support the artists in Rolesville? Stephen?
Well, the new vision that's on Young Street and Main Street, that's gonna have open common area. So you could have a weekend art show or evening art show there, and it could be bringing in a little bit of some funds, and it's central. It's a central localized area. But it's gonna be 2 years.
I think that you can help with what I call pop-up events, where you can create an environment along the streets, isolate that from regular traffic, and businesses are able to put up whatever types of wares that they are interested in showing.
And to our candidates, you can actually move the mic a little closer to you. It has a little lead, a little give, so you don't have to lean in, but that way everyone can actually hear you, because as you go on, you kind of fade out a little.
Okay. Another question, is there a plan for a community center with an indoor pool, basketball court, classes for seniors and all?
So there is a plan. We have a lot of plans for a lot of things. We just need a lot of money. And that's the truth. We just recently had an update, I think it was last Tuesday, on the park, the 116 acres up Main Street. And we kept asking, well, how much is this gonna cost? How much is this gonna cost? They said, we gotta do our due diligence before we can tell you. So we do have plans, and that's the first start of getting this done, is to have plans. But certainly those are things that have been put on that plan for the park. And Main Street Vision Plan is looking at some things as well. So yeah, there's definitely a plan. And you can go online and see these plans. Thank you.
We just don't have a plan for a pool, because I did address that before. There's a lot of logistics that go into having a community pool like that. So as of right now, and I'm a member of the advisory board for Parks and Rec, we have no plans for a pool unless something's changed in the last 24, 48 hours.
Okay. Besides the Main Street project, what else is in the future for Rolesville as opposed to economic growth?
Main Street Vision, like I said, is really a game changer, but, we got a new bypass, there's no businesses on the bypass, so they're gonna come. We're gonna have businesses out there, it's 3 areas identified as commercial hubs out on the bypass. The landowners is not ready to sell right now for a price that, the commercial people want to do it with. But that's there. I mean, that's not going anywhere. That's going to be a future. I don't know. do big boxes like Targets and Walmarts and stuff like that. But there will be activity on the bypass at some point in time, and that's a known, that's a given. So that will be something when we're ready and able, this one happen.
At present, the residents pay over 89% of the town tax base. What short-term and long-term actions would you direct to get that more balanced?
Gotta be commercial. Gotta be commercial.
And we have limited space here in Rolesville, where businesses can come in too. So I think in the medium term, for the 3 to 5 years, the Main Streets project is the biggest push that I can see in the closest future to getting a bunch of businesses in here. To level out that tax base percentage from 88 to 12% to 85-15. They said is the ideal first target to shoot for, and ideally for a town our size, it would be a 75-25 split. That's our main goal that we should shoot for a town of our size.
Okay.
And I just want to add that our taxes are really low in comparison to other municipalities. So you may see an increase in your tax bill. I just want to make sure everyone knows that is Wake County increase, not the town of Rolesville. And I have a diagram for y'all if you want to see it afterwards.
Okay. Our next question. If there is something missing from the Fraser Farm site plan, what is it, and is there an opportunity for that elsewhere in town?
Oh, like tennis courts? That's what I'm saying, that's my answer. I know we went back and forth about tennis courts on the plan. It's not on the plan right now, but there is some available land on the side, that they've helped decide. But right now, it does have all the fields that we asked for. It does have a lot of the amenities we asked for, but to me personally, I just didn't see tennis courts. It's not a deal breaker for me, I'm just saying that's one of the things I didn't notice, that I did notice wasn't there.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. Would you be open to a modification to our town's residential ordinance that would aim to preserve much of the natural wooded areas of proposed developments as possible? My understanding it's not a simple request or process. What are your thoughts, though?
Repeat.
Would you be open to modifying a modification in our town's residential ordinance that would aim to preserve as much natural wooded area of proposed developments as possible? They understand that it's not a simple request or process, but they would like to know what your thoughts are.
So I'll start. So I believe they're referring to the Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay. So that is old. It is outdated. It's 2002. So part of what we need to do is update that. It takes about 2 years to get that updated. It's not a simple process. But we have, as a board, decided to do special meetings. Some of you have been maybe to some of them, to talk about some of the low-hanging fruit on the UDO with those thoughts in mind. Because developers get wind of what we're doing and they communicate with others. So we want to make sure that we are strategically ready when they come to visit. So updating our UDO will help address some of that. Thank you.
It was a simple question, would you be open to it? And my answer was yes.
Yeah, I would say yes to, and I mentioned before, right now we require 10%, and we are actively looking at maybe requiring more than that. We talked about it like Sheila said in a meeting a couple Fridays ago. That's one of the things that is kind of high on the carpet is to look at the open space if that's or not. So yeah, I think really all the board is open to that right now.
Okay. Another question. If you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why? Any of the newcomers? I know the current commissioners, they'll spit that stuff out. Anybody want to change the zoning?
Yeah, I think one thing that we've saw great pain on recently is, and we're going to do it, I think, is to try to make sure that infield type or or develop new developments that doesn't impact existing developments. In other words, if the only way to get to a new development is to go through an old development, we need to really have something in place to protect those folks that goes through the old, that's in the old development. And we really don't have anything that strong in there now. So I think for myself, seeing some of the pain that went through lately with some citizens, that's very much a high priority on my list anyway.
Am I allowed to add one little snippet?
Sure.
A sunset clause. So this is something we couldn't foresee with the bypass that happened with the recent point improvement. A sunset clause would allow us to, if you don't build by a certain time, for us to say, you're done, your time is up. And I know that's being tossed around in the legislature, but we need to have that in our UDO to the legal extent that we can, so that we can control some of that. We don't have that currently. Thank you.
Okay.
And I know there's one other thing that we talked about, which was defining workforce housing. That seems to be a very vague, there's a very vague answer to that. And we really need to know what is workforce housing, so that when developers come to us and say, oh, this is workforce affordable, we know exactly what they're referring to, and we know exactly what we have on our books.
Okay.
Excuse me, would you say that again louder?
Oh, I'm sorry, Frank. I said that one of the things that we really need to define is what is workforce housing, what is affordable housing. That's very, it's a very touchy subject, but we have developers who have come before us and said something is workforce housing or affordable, but we don't have a definition to define that. So we need to clear that up in our UDO as well, or add that to it actually.
Okay. What involvement, if any, should our town leaders have with education?
Go here, last.
Good.
I'm feeling like you don't want us to answer. Okay. So I believe that Rolesville has a lot of, well, we know Rolesville has a lot of wonderful schools. There was a big focus, even before I came on the board, that we would have quality schools, because that's how your community develops. And so this town board has done a phenomenal job of staying in contact with the schools, supporting the schools, our charter school, Bailey's Academy, and all of our obviously elementary and high schools. So I think that is huge to keep that relationship strong. And I think this entire board is focused on that. So that matters.
Anybody else?
Can you read that question one more time? Because let me hear the question first, please.
What involvement, if any, should our town leaders have with education?
With education, okay. I just agree that we should, I thought that was a different question. But I totally agree that our town as a whole should support all of our schools that we have, and all of our leaders. That is a big thing. I think all of the leaders of our schools, the principals, assistant principals, and our teachers, I think they need a great amount of support from us.
I think I even may know the answer to this one, but I'll read it. What plan do you have for our schools, considering the growth of the homes being built?
Like a new school?
Yeah. What plan do you have for our schools, considering the growth of the homes being built currently in Rolesville?
I would think that as we continue to grow, at some point you're going to have to add schools. So add schools when necessary.
That's a very, I'm not replying to what you're saying, but that sounds easier said than done, because it's not on the town. We can't enforce that. That comes from the county. And to me, you have to wonder what the county is thinking when you're building 6 years ago and you're considering going to trailers sooner than later. So really, that's a conversation that needs to be had with the county and the town, because right now, I believe that Rolesville is probably at its limit. So again, we have to involve the county on that.
Okay. What are you gonna do with the school traffic from all our schools?
Pray that it goes away. School traffic.
Right.
Well, I think that's a really difficult question to answer, because that all falls back on infrastructure and plans to widen roads. And with fighting the DOT, it's going to be a difficult task. So it isn't that easy to correct overnight. It's going to take a lot of study and planning.
Okay.
I've got one, is building a pedestrian bridge over the bypass. I got that from a resident the other night at the candidates and s'mores. And I said, that's a great idea because during football season, they're 7-0, they can put a banner right there saying we're 7-0, then take it down the next day and to get the advertising out. Because they were having issues saying, how do we let people know that we've done this? And I said, they don't have the money to go on the billboard. They don't have that function, but here, people driving by would realize, hey, we've got a team. So,
All right, here's another good one. Why is gas always more expensive in rural?
it's not. And we had a good debate on that about 2 years ago, and they actually dropped their prices for a while. But you look at some of the sheets and things, and we're right in line right now for the gas.
I would like to say something to that on a serious. I just want to say something on a serious note.
It's
that
$2.49.
Gas stations are small business as well. Somebody's invested in that gas station. The one thing I think as a town that we should never do is to talk about boycotting any businesses in Rolesville. So if it needs to be a conversation, pull management in, then I think we should do that, but never ever talk about boycotting any businesses in Rolesville because of their price. Their price is their price, and even if it's outrageous, just don't go. But don't advertise boycotting any businesses in Rolesville. Good.
Yeah.
I just want to add just a component, get the Gas Buddy app.
That's true. They'll feel it when you don't go, but don't advertise it.
All right, got a Parks and Rec question. Parks and Rec touches the largest number of individuals each year as existing commissioners. What have you done and what do you plan to do to push Parks and Recs forward, especially Fraser Farm? And for new candidates, what do you plan to do?
So we can all answer.
Or if you'd like to start.
So what we've done, I heard as a commissioner what we've done. We have a Parks and Rec plan. Obviously, we bought the 116 acres. And again, I talked about we have a plan for that. You really have to start with a plan because unless you have the money donated to you, you have to find funding somehow or raise taxes, right? Or do a bond. So some of the things that we're looking at and why we have a plan is so that we can be awarded some grants. That's a big way to start. So that plan helps you win that grant money. So that's one of the things that we're doing currently.
Well, as Brad knows, our Rotary Club is trying to put together an appreciation dinner for the active coaches, and at least to give them some recognition of all their hard work and time that they're volunteering and to give back to the community.
We saw just a couple weeks ago, the final plan for, I think you mentioned Fraser Park or Farm Park, which is phenomenal. And including that, the consultants actually put some, I think it was up to 5 funding mechanisms that we can kind of touch into to try to get it started. But I think after the first year after the election, that's one of the things mayor has the power to do is put committees together or get things started like that. But I think we do need a group of people that's going to be focused on getting that thing started and actually actively looking how we're going to fund it with grants or matching that kind of thing. So it doesn't happen. You have to make it happen. Somebody said earlier, you have to make it happen.
Okay. Next question. In some places, the smart growth agenda is not accepted. Many more where it has not been fully implemented. Advocates for smart and sensible growth can take some comfort in the fact that this concept has become mainstream. During the 4 years you've served as a Rolesville Town Commissioner, will you talk about your record on how you've influenced the town's decisions for smart growth and the implementation plans in place to show Rolesville is committed to a sensible growth?
You might have to break that into parts.
I'll take it first.
Okay.
I use the term smart growth on my flyer there, and to me, I think it's another candidate a couple of years ago used the term what was it? Can't think of it now. Responsible growth, which to me is the same thing. I think another term you can use is healthy growth. And healthy growth is, to me, is one that's not painful to the citizens and not painful for the people who live here. Right now, we're involved in a lot of market growth. It's whatever the market grows, and the smaller we are, much as we need to grow, that's probably good. But at some point in time, we need to take the reins of that and understand what is healthy for our road systems, what is healthy for our community, and what types of growth we want, and kind of control where we put some things that could be painful.
Okay. Anybody?
Also, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, smart growth is sort of controlled growth too, so you can,
Get closer, Michelle, we can't hear you.
if I go any closer, I'm gonna have this thing in my mouth. Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, I'm sorry, is this better? No?
Yeah.
All right, I just think smart growth is controlled growth, and that's something because we're growing so fast, we do have to control our growth. So I'm just basically saying in the simplest terms, smart growth is something that Rolesville should adhere to, because we do have to be mindful and we do have to follow our plan. That's it.
And I would just add that some of the things that we have done in the past 4 years is that we challenge developers. And there's just projects we just simply won't approve. And I think you have to be ready for that. Like I said, everything is a negotiation. If they are not bringing to your town what you want to see, we have it in our power to say no. And we will do that when it's necessary, because we believe in balanced growth for our town, and we all live here too.
Okay. All right. I think that concludes the majority of our questions. There may be a few left, but I know we are staying on time here. So why don't we start with our closing statements? Each candidate will get a minute to kind of do some closing remarks, and then can stay around and answer any personal questions from the audience. We'll start with Michelle.
All right, so basically, again, I've spent 4 years on this board and I've learned so much. And I think that with each meeting, I'm like, I'm sure I got this. I learned this already 3 years ago, but it's just an evolving process. You're constantly learning. We have some plans that are in place. It's gonna take time for those plans to finally come into existence. And I would like to continue on the board to make sure that we follow through on those plans. So again, my goal is to stay on the board, and I'm asking everyone here to please support me and support Rolesville and try to adhere to some of the things that we are trying to do. So it's nothing like stopping in the middle of something and then wondering how it's gonna turn out. I would like to continue to be a part of that process. Thank you.
Sable?
I know Rolesville. I have not only lived here and like I've said, and I've experienced so many different parts of Rolesville. I feel like I am in touch with the residents, and I know what it is that I reach out enough to find out what it is that a lot of us are wanting from Rolesville. And I feel like I could be a very loud voice for Rolesville. I'm not afraid to say no. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to push back, because I am also a resident and I have our best interests at heart. So I would appreciate your vote on November 5th.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan?
Yeah, I think we hit most of the main points, and just to finalize, I think we do have some future needs that I certainly is supporting. We'll support. We talked about the park needs and the greenway needs. We didn't talk much about greenway sidewalks, but we do need some work there. We need facilities, town hall, police department, we need to work on that. Main Street is very important. This Main Street plan is very important. I think we need to make sure we focus on that. Transportation, that was one of the things that was brought up a lot. We do need to make sure as we move forward, we are focused on transportation. We know how to do that. There's like 3 key projects that I feel like it's important to town that I'm gonna try to help to make sure we get done in the next 2 to 3 years, and that has to do with completing Virginia Water Drive, completing Grant Falls Boulevard, and also realign Burlington Mills. They will come into one big hub that will be a big commercial hub. So those are the main things we need to get done in the next, I would say, 4 years.
Thank you. Mr. James, we're doing closing statements. 1 minute.
Thank you. So the one thing that I would like to leave you all with is that every candidate for any office will give you ideas that they have for how to make things better. What we have to understand as voters, as citizens, is that candidates never have all the answers. None of us do. What it takes is a collaboration between government officials and citizens. And I think that as long as we all work together, that we can make Rolesville as good as it can possibly be. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Ed, we're doing closing statements.
Thank you. Let me say in the final analysis, as I look at the town of Rolesville, we have a tremendous opportunity here to grow a wonderful, wonderful town. Not that we're not now, but there's a lot of opportunity to move forward. Additionally, I think that I have a lot of skill sets to bring to the table. I'm willing to work hard for you, the citizens of Rolesville, and to work with other commissioners to make this town the best that it possibly can be. I can't make any false promises, and I would never do that. I just would like the opportunity to work for you folks to move Rolesville ahead. Thanks very much, and thanks again for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Sheila?
My focus continues to be service. I joined this board to be committed and to make a difference in the community that I live in. So I ask for your vote on November 5th. Why? Because I want to continue to serve as your commissioner in Rolesville. I am focused, I am compassionate, and I am committed to continuing to serve our town. I'm not afraid to stand up and push back and ask a whole lot of questions, everyone can attest, but I'm committed to serving the community in which I live. Thank you for being here tonight. Your engagement matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Teeman?
Well, folks, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of listening. That's what I've been doing all my life, is listening to other people and getting their ideas and then putting them together with mine to find the best solution. I set personal goals, and of those personal goals that I've set, I probably achieved 98%. My goal now is to become a commissioner of Rolesville. I need your vote on November 5th and your friends. Remember me, Stephen D.
Thank you very much.